Hello there, and welcome to this video where I'm going to be sharing with you tools for bulimia recovery. So these are tools that changed my life, saved my life, and you may be seeing my previous video. I also shared more tools there. So in addition to watching this one, you can also go back. It's a few years old. The video quality isn't super great, but I invite you to go back and watch those as well to get even more tools to help you in your bulimia recovery. Now, my name is Victoria Evans. I'm a science-based intuitive eating coach, and I'm someone who struggled with bulimia for over 10 years. So from age 12 to about age 22, I was struggling with bulimia. I was binging, I was purging, I was excessive exercising, I was restricting, I was doing all the things. So if you are someone who is currently struggling with bulimia and you're ready to be done with it, you're ready to learn the different tools and techniques to be free from that awful behavior that is just all-consuming once and for all, then you're in the right place. So as I mentioned, I'm someone who struggled with bulimia for over 10 years. And every single night that I was purging, I would tell myself, tonight is the last night. I'm going to finish off this food. I'm going to eat, whatever is left of it in the cupboards. And then tomorrow I'm going to be good. I'm going to get back on track. I'm going to be this version of myself that I had imagined I'd always be. And then lo and behold, the next day, there I was again, binging and purging, just feeling more and more frustrated, losing more and more trust in myself, more and more self-worth being lost, because all of a sudden there I was telling myself I was going to be one way, and then every single day, every single night, disappointing myself and becoming a different version of myself. So if that sounds like you, just know that you're not alone and there is something that we can do about it. I thought that I was going to be someone who struggled with bulimia forever. I thought I was someone who's going to never be able to keep, different types of cookies and treats and all those delicious foods. I thought I could never be the girl who had those foods in her house. I was, to be honest, mystified that people could have chocolate and cookies and licorice and whatever. I was so confused that people could actually have that in their house and feel calm and relaxed and empowered. And yet here I am all those years later, and I'm going to share with you some of the tools that helped me to do so. So today I'm going to be sharing with you 3 different tools that really helped me in my recovery as well as helped my clients. And now to help you even further, I've created a toolkit. Now this toolkit has an additional 7 tools that I'm not going to have time to cover today. It would be a really, really long video, but I invite you to check it out. The link is going to be in the comments below or in the description below. Basically sharing with you, that's going to be the 3 to share today plus 7 more, so that it's 10 tools, 10 of my best science-based tools teaching you how to stop bulimia once and for all. So who is this toolkit for? This toolkit is for you if you're someone who binge eats before you purge, right? So eat a large quantity of food very, very quickly before purging, before getting rid of that food. If that is not you, meaning you don't binge before you purge, there will be some tools that will be helpful for you in this video and in this toolkit. However, it was really designed for the woman, or the person rather, who is struggling with binging and then purging. Also, this toolkit is for those who struggle with self-induced vomiting. So this toolkit is not really for those people who are struggling with laxative or excessive exercise as a means to purge, right? I can definitely help you with that in one-on-one coaching, but this toolkit is really more designed for those who are binging and then purging through self-induced vomiting. This toolkit is also for you if you are someone who is done with bulimia and you're committed to putting into practice the tools I'm going to share with you today and also in this toolkit so you can get your life back. And finally, this toolkit is for you if you're ready to never spend another night going to bed telling yourself this is the last time you're going to purge, only to have it happen yet again. So if it sounds like that was you in that little description there, keep watching. So you might be wondering what is included in this toolkit. So as I mentioned before, it's 10 of my top rated stop bulimia tools that changed my life and the lives of my clients every single day. Now, this looks like a 33-page PDF guide with step-by-step instructions for each tool and strategy. And most importantly, a powerful explanation of why each tool works from a brain-based approach. I believe that education is empowerment and creates lasting change. So in this video, we're going to cover 3 tools as I mentioned, but I really invite you and encourage you to head on down to the description, to the comments, to grab that toolkit. It's on sale. It's super cheap. I'll probably move it up in the future because it is really powerful information and tools, but I invite you to go and get it now and really just have those tools at your disposal to help you heal from bulimia. So without further ado, tool number 1. So what this is going to look like, I'm basically going to run through the steps of whatever that tool is, and then I'm going to follow it up by why it works, because I'm all about getting actionable, right to the point, giving you the information that you need to know. It's the way I coach. It's the way that I give tools and strategies and checklists and toolkits and all those kind of things. And so the first tool here is eating every 2.5 hours. So after eating your first meal of the day, and yes, this should be breakfast, and no, that shouldn't just be coffee, I want you to be setting a timer on your phone for 2.5 hours. Now set the timer as a silent one, so you don't want to scare yourself when it goes off, right? But still set that timer on your phone for 2.5 hours. When the timer goes off, you need to eat. This doesn't have to be a big meal. It can be a really small snack, but you need to eat something. Now, if you're hungry before the timer goes off, oh my gosh, please eat, right? This is not some kind of a restriction technique. No, this is really about getting you consistent with eating. So if you're hungry before that timer goes off in the 2.5 hours, firstly, I'd probably say, you maybe didn't eat enough that first time, right? This is not about having a really minimal snack and then trying to not eat for 2.5 hours and having a really minimal snack. No, this is about having a good, nourishing, delicious, filling meal and then setting that timer. And then the next timer goes off, having another big snack or a nice nourishing meal or whatever that looks like. So why this works, right? That's what I said. I was going to be talking about why this works. Now, this tool was a game changer for me. Despite being incredibly simple, it's just massively beneficial. Why? Because with bulimia, right, it's often accompanied by a binge before the purge. Now, why do we binge? Well, there's 4 different reasons that I cover in my one-on-one coaching about why we actually binge. And I'm not going to cover them all today because it's quite in depth, and I can do another video about that if you want me to. Drop in the comments if that's something you'd like me to talk about more. But basically, one of the most important ones is the physical restriction of food. So what that means is that we're not actually getting enough food. We're not eating enough food throughout the day. Energy is calories. Calories are what we need to stay alive. If we are eating enough food, right, our more primitive part of our brain is going to send off all these alarm bells, basically thinking that it's under attack, there's a threat, right? If a saber-toothed tiger comes over the hill, we're not going to have the energy to actually fight it off. So when we're not eating enough food, it poses a survival threat for our brain, for our body, right? We don't have enough energy, aka calories, to function. If something were to attack us, we can't fight it off. Basically, our brain is sending out all these alarm bells, all these warning signals. And so when this is happening, likely you're going to be thinking about food a lot, right? A pretty good indicator that you're not eating enough food throughout the day is that you're thinking about food a lot of the time. And so if this is happening, right, if you are someone who is binging before you purge, a binge happens because of restriction. Now, as I mentioned before, in my coaching, I talk about the different types of restriction. That can also be mental restriction. It can also be connection restriction. It can also be emotional restriction. But today we're going to specifically be talking about physical restriction, meaning we're not eating enough food. So when we're using this timer, we're setting the timer for every 2.5 hours to be eating. What we're doing is we're training our brain, training our body that food is coming, right? Regardless of how hectic the day is going on, regardless of whatever is going on, you can trust yourself that you're going to show up for yourself in those moments and be giving you the food that your body needs, the calories for you to feel safe, for you to not feel like you have to kick into that survival mode to make sure you have enough energy in your body, aka calories, to fight off the saber-toothed tiger or whatever that needs to be done. Having that energy in your body is crucial. You need calories, and a binge is not a failure, right? It's not self-sabotage, it's self-protection. I used to think that I could just not eat a lot and just restrict and just get better at not binging. But the reason that we are binging is that it is a built-in mechanism that our body is designed to do as a result of restriction, right? Think about thousands of years ago, if there was a famine, right, and we didn't have enough access to food, we're searching for food or finding food, we finally find food, we're going to eat as much of that food as fast as we can to get our energy levels back up for survival. Fast forward to today, what are we doing? We are metaphorically, putting ourselves into famines, whether we're dieting, want to lose weight, right? And so then what happens is when we have that availability to food, right, we order the food or we finally go to the cupboards, all of a sudden our brain thinks, oh my gosh, we're no longer in a famine. Now we can feast. We have access to food. Let's eat as much of it as we can, as quickly as we can to get those energy in for survival, right? Get those calories in us for survival. And so it is a completely normal biological response. And that is also why having that timer for 2.5 hours is retraining your body that, hey, we're safe. Hey, there's no threat. Hey, we're not in a famine. which means as a result, we don't need to feast. If we don't need to feast, aka binge, we also don't need to purge. Now, with that said, if you are someone who is struggling with binging, and even if you're not necessarily restricting anymore, you maybe still are going to be eating larger quantities of food just because your brain, your body hasn't learned to trust again that it's not going to be taken away, right? A lot of the time what will happen is we will binge and purge, and then we will restrict for a while. You lose touch with our hunger and fullness signals when we're purging, right? And so then all of a sudden we're not eating for a long period of time. Then we finally do it again. Then we binge, and it kind of creates this binge restrict cycle, binge purge restrict cycle, right? And so what we want to do is really have our body learn to trust us again, that food is always coming. And it can be a very scary but also reassuring thing to be using this timer that, hey, food is coming, it's not going to be taken away from us again, it's not going to be restricted again, and it's very calming for our body to know that you're no longer in a famine, food is going to show up. So that is the first tool. Super powerful, super simple. That's really what I'm all about in my coaching. Now let's move to the second tool. The second tool is the trust and wins document. Now, if you've listened to me on podcasts or you've done any kind of work with me before, even followed me on Instagram, such as at Victoria Evans Official. If you're curious to check me out there. On TikTok, I'm at Intuitive Eating with Vic. Vic is spelled VIC. So you might have heard me talk about them on there. But if not, the Trust and Wins document is something I created, again, very, very early on in my bulimia recovery. Again, a game changer for me. I say that about all my tools, but they really, truly are. And it's, again, something that's so simple and so powerful. So, Trust and Wins document. What I want you to do, now if you're watching it on your phone, you don't have to do it right now, but if you're watching it on your laptop, grab your phone, or if you're watching on your phone, maybe pause it and come back after I explain the tool. What you're going to do is open up the Notes app on your phone. And then what you're going to write at the top of it is write the title Trust and Wins. Each time you have a win related to bulimia recovery, and also not related to bulimia recovery, right? It doesn't even have to be related to food. Right? Write it down as a bullet point in the note on your phone. And then add to this note throughout the day. Instead of at the end of the day and you're probably going to forget, really kind of train yourself to be adding to it throughout the day. Now use this note on your phone to compile all of your wins. So I have some examples here that I'm going to read through just to give you a bit of an idea of what yours can look like too. First one, invested in the Stop Bulimia Toolkit because I'm done with bulimia. Or invested in coaching with Victoria because I am done with bulimia. Second one, maybe that is today I ate breakfast even when I didn't want to because I binged last night. That's a huge win. Next one, maybe I wanted to stay home tonight and binge, but I decided to go out with my friends instead. Massive win. At work today, I told my boss I was struggling with some tasks and asked for an extension instead of working through the weekend like I normally do. Now again, it doesn't even have to be related to bulimia or food or anything, right? And I'll say this in a second, but we're kind of training our brain to get into the habit of seeing the wins in our life. Right? Looking for the wins. I talk about in my coaching, really kind of training your reticular activating system, priming your brain to see the positive things that are going well in order to give you that energy boost, to give you that positive momentum, to see more of them and give you that trust in yourself to continue on this journey. Another one maybe is I had a biscotti with breakfast at work instead of turning it down like I normally do. Or maybe when I started to feel the urge to binge, I looked at the toolkit, or if you're working with me one-on-one, messaged Victoria, and she was able to help calm me down and give me some support. So why does the Trust and Wins work? Why is this actually super helpful and super powerful? So bulimia destroys trust with yourself, right? You tell yourself after you purge, it's going to be the last time, only to do it again and again, right? And each time you do it, it kind of just chips away at the trust you have with yourself. In fact, I was actually afraid of myself and who I'd become during a binge and purge. I felt like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I felt like a different person. I remember one time I was dating this guy and it was pretty early on, and he kind of stood me up a little bit, very last minute canceled dinner plans, and I was really upset about it. And I was afraid to go home. I remember calling my mom, and I was walking around the streets of Montreal, and I was so cold. I just had on a little jacket, and I was so cold, and I called her crying, I can't go home. I'm so scared of going home. I know what's going to happen when I go home. I'm going to binge, and I'm going to be out of control. And I was literally afraid of who I was when I was binging. I felt like a completely different person, right? There was no trust with myself. I felt, again, out of control. So this tool is going to help you build that trust up back again with yourself. And the thing about trust is that it's not built in these big, gigantic moments, Rather, it's built in the small moments where you show up for yourself over time. So writing down your wins creates trust with yourself, but not only that, because you primed your brain to basically see all these different moments that you're showing up for yourself, right? It causes you to seek more of those moments out, again, because you've primed your brain to do so. So it has this positive kind of spiral effect. Now, again, this tool may feel silly or tough in the beginning, but no, it only feels that way because it's unfamiliar. And you need to rewire your brain to see the wins instead of the times that you messed up. Because of right now, you're probably only remembering the times that you didn't have a win, the times that you did purge, the times that you did everything that was wrong. We don't want to focus on those things anymore. Those are just causing you to feel shame, causing you to feel like you're not good enough, causing you to feel like you don't have the strength and the ability to stop this cycle, which you actually and absolutely do. So, in my course, in my coaching, and as I mentioned, I talked about the 4 types of restriction. So one of them is actually mental restriction around food. So with brain priming and rewiring, which is basically kind of what this is doing with the Trust and Wins document, right? We're basically priming our brain and then rewiring it to focus on the things that are going well, the things that you want to see more of. As I mentioned a little bit before, that reticular activating system, the RAS in your brain, decides what's important and relevant information. And it does so by realizing, like, what is she focusing on? What are they focusing on? What is he focusing on? Whatever you focus on, you literally create more of, right? Because there's so much incoming stimuli all throughout the day, your brain basically has to filter what's important. Is it me focusing on this camera talking to you? Or is it me focusing on that airplane that's landing over there right now? Right? So my brain has to be like, nope, I'm focusing on the screen right now. And whatever I'm focusing on, that tells my brain that this is what's important. And whatever's important, your brain wants to show you more of it. So if you're only ever focusing on how you messed up, you're eating and you failed and blah, 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 then your brain will only show you more examples of it because it thinks that's important and relevant to you. Then this actually creates a confirmation bias and a self-fulfilling prophecy where then all you see is situations in your life where you messed up, causing yourself to lose trust with yourself and feeling like recovery isn't possible. Versus priming your brain to see examples of when you did trust yourself through documenting them in that Trust and Wins document, right? And the more you write down, the more you'll notice these wins, the more this kind of creates this trust reserve that you can kind of pull from in times of struggle, right? And so if you're looking for a place to share your Trust and Wins, I have so in my Craving Food Freedom online course, right? It's a really great option filled with lots of tools. In the Facebook group, you can share your Trust and Wins, as well as in one-on-one coaching. We talk about this all the time. I invite you to share them with me over text. That's a part of my one-on-one coaching program. It's unlimited between call support. You can message me any time of day. I'm there for you. I mean, you might be sleeping at sometimes, but I'll always get back to you. I'll always give you support. I'm always, be there to hold your hand and keep you accountable on your journey. All right, that is it for the second tool, right? And so as I'm talking about these things, the toolkit, the course, one-on-one coaching, depending on what you're looking for, level of support, all of that is below for you in the description. If you're struggling, again, you're not alone. I'm here for you. You have support. You have someone who's on your team fighting for you. Because like I said, I've been there. I'm someone who was purging, upwards of 30 times a day sometimes. It was out of control. I had spent all the money in my bank account. I was a mess, and I've shared on podcast before. I would be ordering food on Uber on rotation, on Uber Eats, and I was in a studio apartment in the old port of Montreal, and I was pretending to call to people around the corner that the food had arrived, while the delivery people were passing in the hallway to deliver food to me so that I could eat it and then purge. I remember pretending to be like, the pizza's here, guys, and pretending that there was someone there and it was just me all alone in my apartment. So I get it. I get it. I get it being the person who cancels plans, who drains their bank account, who feels so stuck and like there is no other way. And I'm here to tell you there is another way. All right, going into the last tool. The last tool I call the true cost. So what you're going to do is you're going to take out a pen and a piece of paper and write across it the cost. Then on a bullet point list on the same piece of paper, write out how bulimia currently affects your life, right? What is the cost emotionally, physically, mentally, socially, financially, right? All those different things. There's so many different ways that it affects your life, and really take some time to write it down. How does it affect you when you were supposed to go out with your friends, but one cookie turned into 2, it turned into the box, it turned into a huge binge. You canceled plans, you feel terrible about yourself, you're lying at home, just feeling awful, right? How does that affect your life? Or how does it affect your life when you really want to be saving up to do something and you're spending all your money binging on food? Or when you want to go out somewhere, but you're wondering about availability of a bathroom to purge after, or you're spending all your time hiding candy wrappers, right? What is, the mental cost? For myself, I was spending so much time struggling with my eating, counting calories and restricting and working out and purging and all that I had no life, right? And I talk about in my coaching and my course, like the only reason we want to have a certain body type is because we think that when we get there, we think we'll be more lovable and valuable and worthy and amazing. But the pursuit of that body, the binging, the purging, the restriction, all those things prevent us from feeling loved and accepted and valued and good enough. So it cuts us off from the thing we want most. When we want to lose weight, want to have a certain body type, at the end of the day, we just want to feel like we are enough. And a lot of that comes from the ability to connect with ourselves and with others. And bulimia directly impairs that ability to connect with yourself or with others, which creates this vicious cycle. Anyways, I go deep into that in my coaching. I'm not going to cover it too deeply here. But basically, I just want you to know, like, it's a massive cost to your life. And right now I'm in Chiang Mai. I'm living here. I've traveled all over the world, started a podcast, different businesses. I do coaching. I do so many different things. I have such an incredibly full life. And I couldn't have never, imagined it, afforded anything when I was still struggling with bulimia. Because my mind was spending so much time worrying about food, right? Remember back to the first tool, my brain was so worried about food availability, right? It was so concerned with making sure it had enough energy because I was constantly binging and purging that I couldn't focus on anything else other than food and body, which made me feel even more out of control. It made me feel even more frantic, more obsessed with food and body. It just really created a downward spiral. All right, so you're done your bullet point list, maybe, hopefully. So what does that cost, right? Emotionally, physically, mentally, socially, financially, all the different ways. Write down everything and anything. The next part 3, right? I want you to fill in the blank for the following 2 scenarios in as much detail as possible, right? Scenario A. In 5 years, if I decide to not recover from bulimia, my life will look like blank, right? What will it look like if this continues? What will it look like if this gets worse? What will it look like if you continue to be stuck in this exhausting cycle that is taking everything from you? What will that look like? And you can really start it almost like, what happens in the morning when you wake up to what, all the way through to what happens when you go to bed at night. You can also include, how you feel. Are you optimistic and energized, or are you lethargic and disappointed and kind of just turning inward? How are your relationships impacted? What is your family life like? What does your bank account look like? What does your health look like, right? My teeth, oh my God, I have no enamel left in my teeth. I have gastrointestinal issues. I lost my period for years. My hair was falling out. When I was struggling with bulimia, like even just from a health standpoint, I was a mess. And, if people were to look back on me in photos, I had chiseled abs. I had cut arms. I looked like the epitome of health, while on the inside, I was the epitome of sickness, right? And so, being healthy, even if you are worried about body size changing in bulimia recovery, I promise you that your internal health is suffering. Even if externally you think I fit the, what you want to look like aesthetically, maybe you do, maybe you don't, right? But I promise you that the cost to what you look like, it's not worth it. The cost to your insides, rather, like what is happening inside internally, health-wise, it's not worth it. And, it's even with that, you are so much more than a body. You are so much more than your weight, right? I, my entire life, thought my worth was my appearance. And I tried to perfect that to, make the world think that if I was externally more attractive, they wouldn't notice how broken and just terrible I felt on the inside. And I thought that reaching a certain body size would cure me. And the irony is that when I reached that certain body size, it almost killed me, right? I had to sacrifice everything in my life and who I was to get to a body size that all it did was bring me emptiness and sadness in every way. And now that I've gone through recovery and gained some weight, and, I smash CrossFit, I travel the world, I eat whatever I want, my life is completely different. And if I remember, and I've said this before, like if you would have told me I'd be where I am now, I couldn't have imagined, Remember, a therapist said to me, if you knew the difference between being happy was, gaining 5 pounds, would you do it? I said, no, I'd rather die than gain 5 pounds. My mindset was so different about what was important and valuable. And I've gained way more than 5 pounds. And I feel so sad for that younger version of myself who was convinced that her worth was her body, and all she brought to the people around her was her abs and her cut arms, and that was her worth, was how she looked. Because I promise you that I am so much more than that, and you are so much more than that. All right. So that was, scenario A. In 5 years, if I don't recover from bulimia, my life will look like blank, right? Health, life, outlook, dreams, goals. Like, what do you want to do in this life, right? Have bigger aspirations than fitting into a certain size jeans. Scenario B, right? So we're going to write this out as well. In 5 years, if I decide to recover from bulimia, what will my life look like? How do you wake up in the morning? Where are you? How do you feel? Who are you with? What are you doing? What are you wearing, right? All the different things. What career are you in? What level of the career? Have you started a business, or are you working your way up in another one, right? Are you with a family? Are you by yourself? Are you with a partner? Are you smashing it in single? Are you traveling and backpacking? Like, what are you doing? Really envision and create that life for yourself. And know that life is accessible to you. That life is available to you. If you can think it, you can do it, right? I could have never imagined that to be where I was today. And yet here I am, right? So have that written down, take some time, hit pause in this video, and really lean into this. Now, when you have finished that paper, I want you to keep this piece of paper somewhere that you're going to see it often. Maybe it's, posted above the toilet. That's where I used to have mine, right? Maybe it's in your wallet. Maybe it's in as a bookmark in a book you're reading. Maybe it's on your fridge. Maybe it's in the cupboards of your kitchen. Maybe you take a picture of it, or maybe you type it up and it's as a screensaver on your phone, right? Somewhere you're going to see it often. I also invite you to kind of move around where it is because of how our brain works. If you see something enough times, you kind of just stop seeing it, right? So if you have it in your bathroom, for a little while, maybe you're going to move it to above the sink. And if you have it in the sink, above the sink for a little while, maybe you're going to move it to the kitchen cupboards or whatever. Move it around so that your brain has to kind of get used to seeing it again. And once you get used to seeing it again, move it. Basically, you just want to have that constant reminder of this is what bulimia looks like if I don't heal right in 5 years, and this is what my life looks like if I do heal. So why this works. So until you get clear on the cost of bulimia to your life, it can be easy to ignore what engaging in that purging behavior, right? When it's late at night and you're thinking, oh, it's the last time, and tomorrow will be good, la la la, right? It's easy to fall back into that, right? And so we need to remind ourselves, what is the cost? Now, this is because our brain is designed to avoid pain as a survival technique. And so if you don't see bulimia as enough of a pain, as a big enough pain in your life, you'll continue to engage in it. Similarly, your brain seeks out pleasure as a survival technique, right? Pleasure in the form of food, pleasure in the form of other things, right? So when you start to view, your life with bulimia as pain and life without it as pleasure, your brain is going to want to stop engaging that behavior because it no longer sees it as beneficial. This is my last tool I'm going to share with you today, but with that said, there is so many more tools, right? Because you're engaging in bulimia for a reason. There is something going on there. There is a kind of a trigger. Why are we binging? Why are we purging? What is going on? So these tools are really great to help you stopping that behavior, but also we need to go a little bit deeper to uncover, why did they start in the first place? Why did I start engaging in the restriction? Why am I feeling like I'm not okay and enough as I am? So again, as I mentioned, I have 7 more tools in my toolkit because we barely scratched the surface today. So you can check this description below, the link below, the comments below, whatever the heck it is below. You can check it there to grab that. I also invite you, if you'd like to learn more about one-on-one coaching, right? I work with clients very in depth, very specifically, very in detail. And it's cool because I get it. So I know for myself, someone who struggled with bulimia, it was difficult when people couldn't understand what it felt like to feel like a different person, or when after you purge, and there's a level of disappointment, but also a level of calm because your stomach is empty, and the fear that is associated with having your stomach full and not being able to purge, and like all these little things, or the erratic behavior, or like I've done just gnarly, gross things when I was binging and purging. And to be able to talk with someone who's been there and done it firsthand and gets it, and speak with people every single day who's also experienced it and done it firsthand, it's incredibly powerful. I believe that empathy is healing. And so on top of that, and top of the accountability that I gave with my coaching, you're also going to have the tools and techniques, right? So it really is, I use my EAT formula, which is education, accountability, and tools, right? And so if you're curious to learn more about coaching, I really do highly suggest you check out my 90 Days to Food Freedom one-on-one coaching program. It's customized to you. It's the same techniques, program, information that has been working for me for the past 6-7 years of coaching successfully, dozens and dozens and dozens of women. And I'm so proud of it. So I invite you to book a call with me. I'm going to put the link in the description below to book a consult call to see if coaching is right for you. But as I mentioned as well, I also have the toolkit. I also have a course. So wherever you're at, I'm here to support you. I have you, I'm holding your hand on this journey. You're not alone. We're going to get through it. It's going to be okay. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you some value. Please comment below if it did. Please comment below more videos that I could do that would be helpful for you. And again, if you're really wanting to invest in stopping bulimia once and for all, please book a call with me. Let's chat. And if you're still kind of easing in, kind of dipping your toe into recovery, the toolkit is also an awesome option for you. I would highly suggest it. And yeah. All right, I never know how to end these things, but I'm just going to stop talking and just say thank you so much. Appreciate you. Check out the description below. If you have any questions, also message me. I'll put my contact details there as well. Sending you all the love in the world. You can do this. You got this. You're not alone. And I'll talk to you soon.